Well, listen, everybody who's listening to this will have already heard about the tragic events in France with the Lufthansa crash of the Lufthansa plane with the co-pilot taking over the plane and crashing it into the mountainside there in the French Alps. I'm wondering, though, Carl, I've been listening to a lot of experts on this topic, and the question did come up, what would it take for this to be a tragic accident? And I've heard several experts on this, and they've all essentially said the same thing, right? They've all essentially said that the confluence of circumstances which would have to take place for this to be a tragic accident, you know, for example, he passes out and falls in a certain way, which would cause him to hit this knob and turn this dial and lock the door in a certain way, and, you know, the confluence of events that would have to take place in order for that to be an accident is it just strains credulity, and they're basically saying, look, we're considering this to be statistically impossible
to be an accident. Yeah,
this to be an accident, and so therefore it has to be deliberate. Right. This whole event could not have been orchestrated through a random set of events which happened accidentally. Right. And I'm wondering, Carl, you and I are essentially agreeing with that. It has to be deliberate because, I mean, let's face it, for all those for that particular confluence of events to take place in order to crash that plane by accident. Oh yeah. I mean, it's just beyond the pale. Yeah. It's a bridge too far. Yeah. And yet, where is Richard Dawkins on this? Where is Sam Harris, and Richard Lenski and all these people? Why aren't they coming out and saying, look,
where's Stephen Hawking's on this? Yeah.
Stephen Hawking, right. Yeah. I mean, after all, according to their beliefs, this would be a simple accident, It's nothing compared to the accidents which happened over the past millions of years which turned fish into people.
Right. I mean 13 billion species of life, all of their systems, all of their subsystems, all subsystems, all of their irreducible complexity, right down to the quantum level, 13 to 20 million species of life that we know of, not counting the ones we haven't even discovered yet, and all of that, plus the natural world around us, plus the universe around us, that all happened by pure accident, according to the evolutionists. But a plane crash that would involve 6 or 7 or 8 different things happening, that is impossible. That's statistically impossible to be an accident.
Right. It was by design. And yet we have experiment after experiment. Carl, for decades now, the atheistic evolutionary community has been attempting through intelligent manipulation to coerce evolution to happen. Richard Lenski with his famous experiment, tens of thousands of generations of bacteria, the equivalent of millions of human years, and all he's been able to prove is that bacteria turns into bacteria. We look at the Swedish chicken experiment, where they put these chickens in extreme stresses and extreme environmental pressures to try and induce evolution in chickens. And the best they could do with these chickens was to turn chickens into more chickens. Yeah, I mean that's the best they could come up with, even through intelligent manipulation.
Yeah, and even the bacteria illustration you gave, which is amazingly interesting, because with bacteria they can literally look at the equivalent of millions of years of human life, and what they were able to do with the bacteria, as you said, they were able to show that bacteria always is bacteria. But what's even more important than that, what that experiment shows and what DNA shows, is that bacteria has always been bacteria.
Always been.
And
humans. We look at and we have nature has given us an enormous sample of evidence. And all we have to do is look at, for example, and there are many examples, the example of salmon. According to the deep time view of time, salmon have been known to exist for between 5 and 7 million years. So between 5 and 7 million years. So 6 million years, give or take a million. That's how inaccurate the dating method is, by the way. It's 6 million years, give or take a million.
Yeah, and a million, by the way, folks, just a minute, Mike, a million, by the way, folks, is an extremely large number, particularly when you're talking about years, because a year is 365 days divided into 24-hour periods in each day, but a million, you know, is 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, you know, I mean, years. So when it's off, give or take by a million or so, wink, wink, that's more than just a number on paper. That's an astronomical impossibility. But go ahead.
Right, and you know, the evolutionists, they say, well, the stresses, the natural stresses on an organism will cause it to adapt and change into different kinds of organisms. Well, you just look at the salmon, for example. Salmon go through a torturous journey every mating season, swimming up streams and jumping over rocks, and yet over, you know, the deep time model of millions of years, salmon never show to become anything other than salmon.
Right.
I mean, the evidence around us is so enormous, and yet, you know, where are these people? Where are these people saying, look, why don't we just accept the fact that this man could have slumped over the chair and, you know, it would have been nothing for him to hit all these knobs, turn the buttons, and all this stuff. This was clearly an accident. But no, they're silent.
Yeah, you won't find anybody, including Richard Dawkins, including Stephen Hawking, including all these famous atheist evolutionists who insist that everything around us happened by accident, yet they will not weigh in and say, I insist that this plane crash happened by accident. I insist, even though there are only, relatively speaking, only 6 or 8 things that had to happen, yet statistically it's impossible that those 6 or 8 things happened at once. This was an act of design by a sick individual.
Right, and to all those people who are saying, well, Mike and Carl are just being ridiculous. Well, listen, we are using the ridiculous to illustrate the ridiculous. This is how ridiculous evolution is.